Well, hello. We tricked Zoom. All right. I think it's awesome that we tricked Zoom. Now I never have to pay for I shouldn't say that. They're probably listening to me right now. Okay. I think that's awesome that you can just go right back in. And I see that my chat's not there. So I'm glad that I copy and pasted all the questions. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the questions again. And I was talking about, what was I talking about? I was talking about
Price.
Price. Yeah.
price. Thank you. So, um, so I did a whole bunch of research. I Googled Minnesota authors because I figured, well, I'm going to see what they do because maybe authors out in, fancy New York are going to charge like $1,000 and authors in Minnesota are going to charge like, $50. No, that's not really true. But so I looked up authors in Minnesota and I pretended I was a teacher and I wanted to book them and I asked them how much they charge and then I never got back to them. So if you want to, because some of them don't have it on their website. I have my fees on my website because I think you should just tell people what you're going to charge. So people in my area were charging like $1,000 a day. And I was like, I felt really uncomfortable with that because I'm not a famous author by any means. So when I first started out, I didn't charge anything. I did it for free. I did like 50 author visits in the month of May and June. I published my first book and I was just exhausted, but I sold like, a few hundred books. And I made a lot of connections and everything. And that was just when I had the one book. So it was a lot quicker. And then let's see, the year after that, I was teaching full time. So I did like three events. I didn't do anything else. And then last year, I did a lot of school visits because I was on leave and there wasn't COVID yet. And I had emailed out like, 1,000 principals and librarians. And I had a bunch of them get back to me. And I decided to kind of go in the middle. And I ended up charging $400 for a whole day, like 5 to 6 hours. You decide what you want me to do. A lot of schools had me stationed in the media center and would bring classes in. That's the best way if you're going to do it grade by grade. And I can see school in that amount of time. And then if they want to do a half day, I charge $250. So it's a little bit better deal to do a full day, but a lot of people would book a half day like in the morning or the afternoon, and that's like 2 to 3 hours. Or I would do $150 an hour. So some people are like, okay, somebody is not muted again. And I'm gonna try to ignore them, but I don't know who it is. There, found him. Wish you could do that in the real classroom. Anywho, and I got distracted again. Oh, if I do like a reading night where I go in and on a weeknight, like an evening, I'll go in for like an hour and just charge them like $150. And then I would give them 20% off of my books. So I have on my order form, it has like the discounted prices, like with a strike through on the actual price and then discounted, and then on my website, same thing. Now that I'm doing virtual visits, however, I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? Because I'm only doing them for a half hour, but I don't want to do, so I did, and I marketed this. I made a graphic and I did free virtual visits for the entire month of September. And I was so exhausted. I had them like, I just went way overboard. And that's one of my downfalls. I get too excited and I just overbook myself all the time. And then when I'm doing it, I'm just like, I'm so burnt out. So I went on all these teacher sites and Instagram and I was like, free author visit for the month of September. And like hundreds of teachers signed up and each one was a half hour, like back to back, no breaks in between, all free. Yeah, I sold some books, but I did do a thing where I said, if your class purchases more than $200 worth of books, you can earn a free set for your classroom. I think it was maybe it was 300. And I had a couple of teachers really get after their, like I could tell they were excited and they wanted the free books, but otherwise it was like maybe 5 or 6 orders per class, if that. Some classes didn't order anything. And, but it's, I put my social media information in the email, I put my website in the email, and then I had a bunch of people subscribe to my website, and I ran a Kickstarter in October for my Christmas book. And I emailed out all the teachers that I did free visits for about my Kickstarter campaign. Even if they didn't want to get the email from me, I still emailed them. And I was like, can you send this home to your students? And I had some kids go in and pre-order my book through Kickstarter. So, you know, you gotta use it, right? So now I'm charging $100 per visit. To answer your question in a really long way, Josh, I'm charging $100 because I thought, well, I'm not in person, so it's not quite as long, but I still think it's a, you know, it's a pretty good presentation, and it's my time, and I don't have a lot of people that want to pay that. I think I've only had like, I mean, I had probably 100 school visits in September, and then I've probably done like 10. So people don't want to pay it. They think that, you know, and I'm a teacher, so I get it. Like, schools don't have a lot of money. What I have the most success at are the schools that have title funds. So like the free and reduced lunch, if they have a high population of free and reduced lunch, they have special funding from the government, and they can use that funding. The funding is set aside specifically for literacy. So if you can find those schools and you can schedule a reading night, and I have a few coming up here in February now, where they're paying me $100 per session, and I'll do like, I usually do 2 sessions, so that's $200 right there. Plus, a lot of them will buy books from me to give away to kids who come to it. So, and I'll do my same presentation I just did for you, but I'll do it for like the whole school. You know, like K through 2 will be 1 session, 3 through 5 will be 1 session. I'll do the same thing for both. I'll get a little bit more involved with the older kids. And then they'll give away some of the books. So then I usually get some orders, because then the whole school gets an email about me too, like with my website and my link and all that. So the literacy nights with the title funds are usually my best bet. So I hope that answered that question.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks so much, Stacy.
Of course. Okay. So let me see if I can figure out what question we're on. Are your author visits always 30 minutes? Yes, usually at least 30, sometimes longer. With the older kids, I tend to go over because they have such good questions, and I like talking to them. I like talking about marketing and publishing, so sometimes I'll go 45 minutes. How did I find my illustrator? I actually found her on Pinterest. So I looked so back then, I was not even in these author groups on Facebook at all. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know any authors. I didn't know any illustrators. So I found, I went on Fiverr and I went on Upwork, and I put my job in there, and I got tons of people, but none of them, I mean, they were talented, but it's like looking for a house. Like when you're moving to a new house, you'll know when you find the right one. Like none of them were really the one that did it for me. Like it just wasn't right. I don't know why, it just wasn't. So I had just started my Instagram account back then, 3 years ago. And so I was looking on there, and I was looking on Facebook, and I was looking on, and then I decided I'm going to go on Pinterest. I never go on Pinterest, but I went on Pinterest and I typed in children's book illustrations. And Rebecca came up because she had an Etsy shop, and she was selling her prints as like decorations for kids' rooms. And I loved her style, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to see if she can do. And she had never done a book before. She had just graduated from art school, in fact, never done a book before. But I emailed her and I said, I really love your style. I would love to work with you. I've never written a book. And she's like, well, I've never illustrated a book. So both of us were new. We didn't know what we were doing, but we figured it out. And she's awesome. And now we have, 6 books. So it worked out great. But yeah, that's where I found her. So there's lots of places where you can look to find illustrators. Okay, so I'm going to find the next question. Does it help? Oh, what kinds of stores have your books? Okay, so for stores, I always keep my books in the trunk of my car. I keep like 5 copies of each book in the trunk of my car in a box, because now I'm in Minnesota, and so our whole state is shut down right now. There aren't any stores open except like Walmart. in Target. So I can't really go anywhere right now. But before that happened, if the kids and I were out running errands and I saw a little shop, I would just go in there with my books. And I would just ask to speak to the manager, and I'd introduce myself. I would say, hey, my name's Stacy. I'm from the area, and I'm a children's author. And I'm wondering if you'd be interested in selling my books here. And, you know, maybe about half will be like, oh, these look really nice. We would love to do that, you know. And then I'll say, I do wholesale because I don't want to do consignment. I do have my books on consignment in some stores, but I try to get them to buy the books wholesale. So I'll say I do 60% wholesale. You know, here's my wholesale order form, and they'll kind of write down that, or they'll say, you know, well, no, we don't really sell children's books here. And I'll say, okay, well, here's my card if you ever change your mind or whatever. And then I'll go somewhere else. But my books are, I mean, really anywhere, any little local boutique. I have my books at grocery stores that have local stuff. I mean, there's some little grocery stores in my area that sell local things. Obviously bookstores, but they're not even the best place. Bookstores are not the best place, like the little bookstores. It's like the places that have the local things, like you know, the boutiques or the craft stores or the little grocery stores. I have them at an apple orchard close to my house. I have them at a candy store that's like, it's Minnesota's biggest candy store. They sold out of my books. She doesn't even have any books there. She told me no. I drove an hour. They're an hour from my house. I went down there with my daughter because she likes treats. And I had my books in my trunk. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go in there and talk to her. And I thought she probably won't want them because it's about having too many treats. But I said, I'm going to just go talk to her anyway. There's a million books there. I asked to speak to the manager. She said, well, brushed me off. And she said, no, we don't sell books here, but thanks anyway. And I'm like, okay. And I just left. A month later, I went back there again, and I spoke to the same lady. And I said, I'm back again. I just wanted to check and make sure you didn't want to sell my books here. And she goes, you know what? You caught me on a good day. I would love to sell your books here. Let's try it and see how it goes. And I was like, so I had these little signs that I made. So I made these in Canva, and I bought these things on Amazon, and I bring them with me whenever I go to a store. So they're little shelf talker things, and I put them under my books. And because otherwise people won't know they're a local author. I really like things that are signed. So that's what makes it kind of special. So
can we see that again, Stacy? Can you show that again?
Which part?
Can you just show the sign again?
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
So it's kind of hard to see. It's just a little blurb about me. It's basically what's on the back of my book.
What is that called, that little plastic thing, like if we were to search to buy it?
It's called a shelf talker, I think.
Shelf talker, okay.
Yeah. And I think this one is maybe like 3 inches by maybe 3 by 5. But I mean, you can get whatever size you want. And then my fancy signs that I made, I just kind of shoved in here with my fingers because I'm, you know, like that. And I think I got like 15, and they're in my trunk too, because you never know when someone's going to say, yes, you want to have that. And then you bring it in. Otherwise I was asking them if they had paper, and I was making a little cardboard sign, and that's fine. I mean, I would just write signed by the local author and put it in front of the books. Otherwise, people don't know that it's signed by a local author, and that's what kind of makes it special, is that it is signed.
Do they set the books on top of that, like flat part? It looks like it hangs down, is it right?
Yeah, so it goes like
I've not seen those, but I love the idea.
this. Can you guys see that?
Oh, that's helpful. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I don't know if you could, there we go.
Oh, I love that. Really cute.
And then I also carry around these I got these little things, and I bring these with me too, because some stores don't have a way to display. I mean, you can always just put your books on top of a stack of books, and that's fine, but some stores ask, you know, do you have anything to display your books? And so I have those in my trunk too, just in case. And then of course, I always leave business cards with my books. I put the business cards right out in front for people to take that have my website on it. So yeah, I mean, you're driving around and you pass by a little shop, just go in and tell them about yourself and be excited and ask if they want to sell your books and try to get them to buy them wholesale if you can. Consignment's fine. It's just, I don't like keeping track of where the books are and who owes me what and whatever. So it's just easier if I sell them outright, then I know I don't have to worry about it.
Stacy, we've gotten into 2 different hospital gift shops. I think you've done that as well. I know somebody asked, it was the same thing. We literally just walked in
Yeah.
with the book and they bought. It's very exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yep, same thing. Hospitals. I went to the Children's Hospital in St. Paul, and yeah, spoke to her, and yeah, she bought like 10 books and put them in the gift shop. And I don't know if they're still there. I can't go there now, but everything's just shut down. But yeah, that's.
We also give a little break if they buy. I think we do up to 5, and they get maybe a 35% discount.
Mm-hmm.
And if they buy 10, we give them a 40% discount. So
Yep.
sometimes they'll say, "Oh, we want 6." I'm like, "Well, if you got 10, you get another."
Yep.
You know.
Yep,
So that'll
that's a good
help
idea.
people out.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Does it help you to book schools because you've been a teacher? Yeah.
So.
Oh, the background check. Actually, you know what's funny is nobody has asked me about a background check. Not one single school that I've been to has asked me to have a background check at all. I don't know why. I don't know why. That's interesting. I've never thought about it because I've never had to do one. But the schools that the 2 schools that would not pay me to come in person were my school and my kids' school. They would not pay. My own school would not pay me to come in. When I was on leave last year, my principal was like, "We're not paying you." I mean, I don't really like him that much, but he was like, "We're not paying you to come in." I was like, "Oh, you're such a..." I was like, "Fine." So I went for free. I figured, you know what? All the kids know me. I made a ton of sales. It was fine. But it was just the point that out of all the schools in the district, you're going to be the one that stiffs me. Fine, whatever. So I went to that one for free. And then my kids' school, I did for free. They have a charter school. They don't have a lot of money, so I did it for free. You know, I don't know. You know, I don't. Well, I do know the literacy specialist who booked me for some literacy nights last year is a friend of mine. So, and she's seen me teach before. She worked at my school. So she knows that I know how to lead the group and interact with the kids. So she recommended me to a whole bunch of people. Otherwise, of all the other districts and all that, I don't know anybody. So I don't really have any more connections than anybody else does. So I don't know if it helps that I'm a teacher or not. I do mention that I'm a teacher, but I don't know if it helps, honestly.
So do you contact the librarian, or do you contact the literacy expert, or the principal, or the classroom teacher?
I do, when I was doing in-person, when I send emails, I email the media specialist and the principal, both. Because some schools don't have a media specialist and some do, and then you know, I don't know. So I just do them both just to cover all my bases. When I'm trying to get teachers from around the country to book me, and I'm contacting them through Instagram, then I'll just contact the teacher, or I'll look up reading specialists. Like I'll do hashtag reading teacher, and I'll just shoot them a little message, and I'll just say, "Hey, my name's Stacy. I love your Instagram feed. I just want to let you know if you're looking for something fun and unique for your students to do during I Love to Read Month, I'm booking virtual author visits for the rest of the school year." And I've gotten a few teachers that get back to me and say, "Yeah, that sounds super fun. How do I sign up," or whatever. So yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, do I use a different slideshow for older kids? No, I use the same one. For the younger kids, if I'm doing preschool, kindergarten, I do skip past the storyboard. Usually I don't talk about that. I don't talk about, what else don't I? There's a few slides that I don't show them because they're not gonna listen to that. For the older kids, I show them everything that I showed you guys. Do I do any kind of gathering activity or just wait for the teacher to start? I just wait for the teacher. I stand there. or here, and I'll just talk to the kids. I'll be like, oh, what grade are you guys in? And or did you have a good Thanksgiving or whatever, you know, just kind of chit chat. And then the teacher usually starts. Sometimes the teacher doesn't start, they just look at me. So then I'll just say, okay, everybody, hi, my name's Stacy. I just start talking. And I just used, you know, I use this a lot, like the visual, you know, raise your hand, or I'll go stand next to a kid if they're talking, the nonverbal kind of stuff. Do I show kids your Easter egg? Yeah, I do actually. So what I do if when I'm going through this book with them, I will show them this spread, and I'll say, does anybody see anything interesting in this illustration? My illustrator put something in here and I'm wondering if you can find it. Now, of course, this is a really broad question. So then you, especially with the younger kids, you get stuff like, oh, there's a duck. And oh, there's a toothbrush on there. And then I'm like, okay, 50 answers later, they still haven't answered what I wanted them to. So I'll say, it's right over here somewhere. And then somebody will say, oh, there's that book that you just read us. And I'll say, yeah. And I'll say, that's called an Easter egg. And, you know, that's with the older kids, I'll tell, but with the older kids usually know, because they'll watch, they know YouTube or video games or whatever, they know what it is. And I'll tell them, you know, when I first started, I didn't even know what that was. I thought it was an actual Easter egg, which I did. But I'll say it's a marketing technique where, you know, you hide clues and then the reader tries to find it. And in all my books, there are Easter eggs for you to look for. I imagine reading a book straight through, not stopping and asking questions is better to stop periodically. I think it's, yes, I would stop not every page. I would stop every few pages just like I did. And I would ask the students questions to keep them engaged with the story. So if you have to practice ahead of time, when I first started, I typed up exactly what I was going to say because I'm that kind of person. I like to be prepared. And it was like the first day of school, I typed up my lesson plan. I typed up exactly the questions I was going to ask, what page they were on. I even had Post-it notes sticking out of the top of my book so that when I read it, before I had the PowerPoint, when I read it, I would know which question I was going to ask them. Now that I've done it a million times, I don't have to do that anymore. But go through your book and just think, okay, can I ask them a question about this page? Like this page right here. What's your favorite dessert? Who likes cookies? Raise your hand if you like cookies. Raise your hand if you like cake. I mean, it can be really any question, and it can be for any age. Like who else has treats in their freezer? I do. Do you have treats in your freezer? Yep, I do too. Why do you think she locked the door on the playroom? Look, she's using her bare hands to eat the ice cream. Have you ever done that? You know, just whatever you can ask. Making predictions is really good for kids to do. So if there's a spot in your book where they can predict what's going to happen next, that's a good thing to ask them to do. What do you think the character is going to do next? You know, you can ask them questions like, where do you think the story is going to take place? Something I ask too, even before I read this, I'll say, what are some things that can happen to you if you eat too many treats? And the answers you get from that are pretty interesting. You get everything from, you can get diabetes to you could die. And I'm always like, yeah, okay, next. Who else has an idea? You could get a hole in your tooth or whatever. So you can ask them to predict what they think is going to happen in your book too. So yes, I would stop every couple of pages and ask questions to keep them engaged with your story. Do kids want to hear more about the behind the scenes information about how the book was created or more about the characters? I think it depends on the age of the kids. The younger kids like being read to, and the older kids, they like the story, but they're very interested in the process. So I think the older the kid is, the more they're interested in behind the scenes. And then if you get kids that really enjoy writing, they do want to hear more about the process. Where if you have kids that are kind of like, you know, they're more into just being read to. So you can kind of read your audience based on, you know, the age of the kids and like just look at their face and kind of see when it's time to move on to the next thing. How do you handle book sales? Do you charge? Okay, I think I talked about that. So what I was doing in person was I was sending that form ahead of time. Schools were printing it out and sending it home. And then I had a couple schools, which was awesome, scan all the order forms and send them to me so I could fill out all the books ahead of time and bring them with me to the school. Only a few schools did that. Usually what would happen is I would get there, they would give me all the money in the order forms, and then they would schedule me like a 20-minute break, and I would autograph and personalize all the books. I would stick the order form on the inside of the book, give it to the teachers, and they would pass them out. And then I always had some kids afterwards who wanted one, so I made sure to give them my link so they could order a copy off my website, and then I would just mail it to them. Or if I was close to the school, I would drop it off if I was running errands or something. Now that I'm virtual, I just send an email to the teacher, and I just give them my website link. I give them the discount code, and I just say, if the kids want to order autographed books, here's my link. And I don't get as many orders, unfortunately, because it's virtual, but that's just the way it is. Okay, I think I'm almost to the end of the first one here. Do you give the teachers activities they can use to extend the learning? No, I don't. I did actually create a worksheet about dental health that I brought to the daycares and stuff, but I stopped doing it. I don't know why I stopped doing it. I just did. And I have bookmarks. I would leave bookmarks with all the kids. But I have a bunch of free downloads on my website. So I would always just tell the teacher if they want to do a free activity, go on my website and you can get the downloads right on there. But that would be a good idea. I just didn't do it. Okay, what do you do for literacy nights? Yeah, I do the same thing. I do the same presentation for literacy nights that I do for the classroom. The same thing, yeah. Okay, now I'm on this chat. How do I sell books and virtual visits? I just answered that. Do you have schools pay sales tax when they buy books from you? No, I do not. So what I do is I just got an email actually from the state of Minnesota. So I keep track of how many books I sell, and then I just have to claim that sales tax with the state of Minnesota. I just have to, write down how much, how many books I sold, what the total was, and then times it by, 6 point whatever percent the sales tax here is in Minnesota. And then I just pay it. Yeah, I think you recorded automatically. So good. Because I just saw your message, Britt. So thank you. How do I find out which schools are Title I schools? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if that's public information or not, actually. I think it's public information. So I would have to Google that. I'm not sure. Usually they contact me and they'll say they're Title I. See, in my district, we know which ones they are. And I don't know if you can just look that up or not. So I guess I would just, for your state, I would just Google it maybe. Or does somebody have an answer?
I just did, and I found all of the Title I schools in Los Angeles.
Oh, sweet. Oh, look at me. Look, you have my book.
Thank you.
That's so cute. Thanks for showing me that. Oh, good. So you can just look it up. That's good to know. Thanks for sharing that.
At least in LA, I was able to find it really easily.
Oh,
that's
good.
great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Do you involve the parents on literacy nights and how? So for literacy nights, actually, I have done presentations because I told you that I'm flexible and I'll do whatever the school wants. I have had schools ask me to speak to parents about how to inspire their kids to read at home. And so I have done literacy nights where I use the same slideshow, but I'll tier it to parents instead. So I'll still talk about like my process and all that, but I'll talk about strategies you can use at home for comprehension and ways to motivate your kids to read. So I do that. Otherwise, if I'm just doing the literacy night presentation I just showed you, the parents are just kind of there to watch, and I don't really do anything with them and some of the parents ask questions about, for me, like they want to know, about the author process, but mostly they're just there to kind of hang out with their kid and watch. And then when I was doing literacy nights in person, man, would I sell a lot of books. Those were just so great. I would go there, I would be like in the library. I would set up my table with my tablecloth with all my books. And I even made a gift pack of all my books together with the plush, and I tied a fancy ribbon on the top. And I discounted it, and I already had all the books autographed already, and I called it a gift set. And then I had a sign on the table that said how much things were, special event pricing, you know. I would read my book, talk about being an author. Oops, I'm going to 10 minutes again. I would read my book and talk about being an author. It is not good.
Why you do that? This
Know who that is?
Cavell Martin. It's like the picture of the.
Oh, got it.
That's the one I'm
Thank
talking.
you.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So after I read the book, I would say, if anybody wants an autographed book, I'll be here behind this table. You can come and meet me. I'll write your name in the book. They make great Christmas presents, birthday presents, whatever. And I would just have people swarm. And of course, I would have these guys sitting on the table because I'm that shameless mom who other moms hate, that has the plush that you don't want your kids to get. And it would say only $5, and all the kids would come over and be like, "Mommy, I want a kangaroo!" And you know, anyway, I would exploit that. But
I already have a pending order for a set of those.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good Valentine's Day present. So yeah, so they would be because you have almost the whole school there in person with the parents who have the money, who can then just make the purchase. So that's like a great place to make sales, is those literacy nights. Okay, I still publish 3 books. Most of them are at stores. How do you get them to buy wholesale instead? Well, when I go to stores, I don't mention the word consignment at all. Like I go in there and I say, my name is Stacy from the area. These are my books. I would love to sell them here. And I sell them wholesale for 40% off. Are you interested? And most people they'll look at them and they'll say, if they're interested, they'll say, yeah, we could try they'll try like 3 of each title or 5 of each title or something. And if they do say, well, we don't do wholesale, would you consider consignment? Then I will do it. But when I first go in there, I mention that I sell them wholesale, so that they're kind of like, oh, okay, we'll do that. And you know, and the ones that try it, you know, they sell and then they want more, and so they pay shipping, because some of the places that I sell to are, you know, like an hour away. I don't want to drive there every time they're run out of books. So then they'll just I'll send them an invoice through PayPal, including the shipping. I have a scale here at my house, so I figure out the medium mail prices, and I add that to the invoice, send it to them. They pay me with PayPal or Venmo, and then I just ship it to them signed, and they put them on their shelf. Okay. Have I done high school author visits? No, I have not. I haven't even tried to get into high schools. That might be kind of fun, actually, because, you know, just because I'm a children's author, because a lot of the principals would be like, well, you know, what grade level are your books for? Well, I mean, they're for kids ages like 4 to 8, but my presentation can really be tiered to any age. So I do tell them that. I'm like, well, the books themselves are picture books, so they're for the primary kids, but the older kids, you know, we can get into economics and all that kind of business stuff, and they really like hearing about that. So and the writing process and all that. So for wholesale, I do 40% off. So I give it to them for 60%. So these books are $17.99 normally. So I think it's like $8.60 what I do those for. And then the paperback are usually $11.99. So I do those for I think it's like $5.60 or something like that. And I do the same thing for the plush. I usually give them to them for $5. They cost me $3.50 to get made. So, you know, I'm still making a little bit of money, you know, even though I'm selling them only for $5. So how do I get paid from schools in different countries? I've only done one school in a different country. I did somebody in South America, and she just paid me with PayPal or something. She did some kind of online payment, and it worked out just fine. So it was pretty cool. The kids were super cute. They had pre-recorded questions in English, but they had the cute little accents, and they came on and asked me their little questions, and it was fun. Okay. How do you sell books how do you sell books to the school? Does each student order from your website or does the school gather? So virtually, when I do virtual visits, each student orders from my website. When I go in person, I do the order forms. No, I don't have kids. So the question is, have you had kids work on worksheets during virtual or physical visit? No. But when I do literacy nights, I did create a sheet. I wonder if I have any. No, I won't be able to find it. Oh, here it is. So when I was doing literacy nights, I created this sheet, and it says, Cami and Kangaroo and Wyatt to a next adventure contest. What should Cami and Wyatt's next adventure be? Draw a picture or write down your idea, fill out the bottom and put it in the basket for a chance to win a free book. And this was a way to, just a little activity kids could do. And then they give me their email, which I then put in my website. And I had a sign that said, you will be subscribed to my website or whatever. And that was just a fun little station the kids could do while they were waiting for me to sign books. They could go over there and do that. And then the school would purchase like 5 books and they would draw 5 winners for those. So the school bought my books for that raffle. It wasn't me giving free books. The school bought books and did the raffle. And I mentioned that. I say to the schools, I have this sheet. Do you want to do a raffle? And they'll say, sure. And then I say, well, I'll give you the books for $10 or something. I'll give them to them for pretty cheap, like, whatever, 60% off or whatever. And then they'll put them in the raffle. I also always have a spiral notebook sitting on my table that says, subscribe to my website for updates, and then a name and email. And I always get at least like 20 new subscribers when I do in-person events. Like that. And of course, if people order off my website, they have a checkbox they can check to be subscribed to when they check out like that. Okay, how do you explain the writing publishing process to younger kids? How do I simplify? So I just say they still know, like even preschool kindergartners, I'll still ask them, what do I do first, second, third? And they usually know, actually, because the teachers, I taught kindergarten for 4 years. We were teaching the writing process. I won't go into a lot about the storyboard and things like that, but I still talk about fixing up your work, making it better. It's not done the first time I write it. I want to make it the best that I can make it and that kind of thing. So maybe less technical vocabulary, but I still do explain the writing process. The size of the plush, these are 6 inches. So they're like this size. They do have 8-inch where I go to Got a Toy. They do have 8-inch ones too, but I thought the 6-inch was big enough. And then I just had my koala made too, and these are also 6 inches.
Stacy,
Oh, yep.
sorry, I missed the conversation regarding Title I school. Can you repeat that? Like, why is that different, and why, like, what was the conversation going around that?
Sure. And we're going to run out of time again. I don't know if I can log in for a 3rd time, but I will try. And then I'll probably have to wrap up. So if I run out.
Can you, I remember being on one of our calls, they said if you transfer the screen to someone else, it extends it.
Oh.
Marina said that. So go down to like, I think it's like you can, I think it's like,
you mean make somebody else the host?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to make you a host.
Okay. Great. So glad I spoke up.
Okay. So
and then you can
host,
still share your screen. Okay. So I think we should be okay.
Does it still say that there's less than a minute left or no?
Yeah, it's saying it.
Okay, we'll see what happens. If it runs out again, we'll just log back into the same thing, or I'll just post our link in the group, in the Facebook group.
Oh, you know what? Oh, switch it to multiple participants can share screen. See if that works. See where it says share screen?
Yeah. It just says host disabled attendee screen sharing. That's you.
Oh, okay. Oh, I can do that then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. See if that works.
Okay. Well, we'll see